Welcome to 3 Minute Thoughts. I have a story time, and the story time has to deal with failure. Now, back when I was in grade school, like first, second, third grade, somewhere like that, there was this test they had the students take, and I think we've actually did it twice. We do lots of like standardized tests, so it's not unusual to have like a group where like all the people, all the students at the same time take a test. But this test was particularly annoying because it give you this really long thing. The very first instruction is to read all the instructions before doing anything, and it's like a good 4 pages. So you start looking at it, there's these various problems. Some of them are puzzles like rebuses, standardized type problems. But then you get like further into reading this, and it gets more bizarre. There are more puzzles, riddles, but they also have things where like, oh, get up and go get a drink of water. Okay. And then you finally get to the last page, and it says, now that you finish reading all this, only do the odd number problems. So for most of the students, they read all this, and they do all these things, and they get up and drink of water and all this stuff as they're going through this, because they're used to doing tests like that. You just do the test as you do it. I'm not quite certain what this particular test was testing for. Obedience, maybe, because you're supposed to read everything first and then find out you only have to do like half the stuff, which is you don't have to do the silly stuff. This reminds me of one of the very first times that I failed at something, and it was also like first, second grade. I was given a project. All the students had projects, and the project was to, with a puppet, make up a little story and present the story to the class. I'm thinking that's pretty easy. Basically, a whole paragraph like instructions, and like basically like what kind of story you could tell, all things of that nature. So I had a little stuffed animal called Blackie, which is a little hand puppet, because it was a black dog. I have a very simplistic naming convention. And I bring this puppet in, and I start telling the story, and I finish the story. And the teacher goes, look at the very first line of your instructions. And the very first line was, make a puppet. And that was it. It was just make a puppet, and then tell a story with the puppet that you made. Well, guess what? I failed that, because I did not make a puppet. I used an existing puppet. I think the lesson here is following directions isn't my strong suit, or maybe back then it wasn't. I feel like I've gotten better since then, but I also still question the concept of obedience as a scholastic aptitude. Not really sure what the thing you're supposed to learn from making the puppet and then telling the story, what the advantage for that was. Anyway, those are some little stories from childhood. And this is actually the second to last video, the penultimate video. Ooh. Until we find out what happens next. Have a good one.